now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today, Maria Marinakis.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Danica. So with that, we're going to get started because we have a limited amount of time and a lot of information to get out to you. So today, I wanted to at least introduce myself, and this topic is very near and dear to my heart. You'll find out why soon. But I work with very successful professionals that tend to be very busy, and I help them to achieve their most meaningful goals by teaching them how to work smarter, stress less, and also achieve more, all at the same time so they can do more of what matters. And that's really the focus of today's topic. And so you'll see on your screen all of these fabulous, some celebrities, some very successful and recognizable leaders of our time. And all of these folks lead purpose-powered lives. Because, why? Staying on purpose helps you to succeed faster, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But before we dive in, I don't know how interactive we can be, but I wanted to know how many of you are successful and super busy, but when you think about your real purpose, like what you really want to accomplish for yourself, it may have fallen by the wayside. I don't know if any of you feel that way. Or how many of you feel like you are living on purpose, but if we could optimize that, you could have even more time to do what really matters. If so, yes to either of those, you are in the right place. So what changed for me? I can tell you, for myself, my background, I have been in the child and family therapy business for over 20 years. And about 7 years in, I was working for nonprofit and state agencies, and I was completely burned out. I was sick of it. Many of us that are in entrepreneurs or business folks, we get into the business because we enjoy people. We like interacting with people. And 7 years in, I was in a mindset of, I hate people. I don't want to talk to anybody. And I thought, I need to change up from that. And so I did what any normal person would do. I went out and got my real estate license. And I actually was very successful because a lot of the skills are transferable to real estate and to sales. And I had a great time doing that. But at the same time was really missing making a difference at a much deeper and more personal level in people's lives. So I wanted to go back to working with folks more personally and also with their businesses. But I wanted to do it in a way that I didn't feel burnt out and exhausted and hating people, right? And I wanted to figure out a way. I was like, how can I do this? I asked myself a better question. How can I help people and make a positive impact in the world while at the same time doing it in a way that energizes and motivates me? And so that's what led me to purpose-powered living. So if you could imagine, if you could be a high-achieving leader and also have boundaries to ensure you have the time to do more of what matters to you, what would that feel like? What would that look like? Also, what if you could help your team get results and also have more free time to spend with your own family, your friends, exercising regularly, which I know for many of us goes by the wayside when we get busy, and also plan for achieving those most important and fulfilling goals. Here's why that's probably not happening. It might be happening for some of you, but most of the folks that I talk to, it's not happening. And a lot of that reason is because you are a powerful, successful super achiever, and as a result, you have high standards, but you also have a unique set of challenges. So I have a little quiz for you. Not to make this tedious, but just in your mind, if you're responding, feel free to chat and answer. I can't see it, but Danica hopefully will tell me. Answering these questions, maybe you are that go-to person, because many of us who are successful high achievers, the folks around us know that we can get stuff done. So our reward is getting asked to get more stuff done. So maybe you're that go-to person, but you also have a hard time saying no to requests, interruptions, new projects, or friends that want to hang out or want to, what is the term I always hear? Can I pick your brain? Yes, so everyone wants to pick your brain. and you have a hard time saying no. Maybe while you're a high achiever, you don't always take that time to relax and reflect and, like Stephen Covey says, sharpen the saw, taking time to reevaluate and reconnect. Maybe you're successful in your business, but you're not taking care of yourself, you're not taking care of your health, you're not sleeping well, you're not exercising, you're eating a bunch of junky junk to keep going throughout the day. And maybe you create some great experiences for your clients, but at the end of the day, you go home exhausted and you hardly have energy to spend on yourself or your family or those closest to you. So what do we do about that? Our step one, and we're going to focus mostly on steps 1 and 2 because they're the most important foundations in making the rest of everything go smoothly and more easily and almost effortlessly. All right? So you might be familiar with this term, when we say, what would it look like, feel like, and sound like? That comes from our fabulous NLP or neuro-linguistic programming. And there's science behind this. This isn't just woo-woo, law of attraction stuff, and we're going to talk about that. So if you really get a vision of what does being your best you mean to you, if I get asked the magic wand question when I did therapy, and folks would say, oh gosh, I just wish you had a magic wand and could just make everything perfect. And so I would tell people, I'd come back at them, I'm like, okay, let's say, for argument's sake, I did have the magic wand and I abracadabraed over you and you went to sleep, and while you were sleeping, the miracle happened that everything was perfect the way you wanted. How would you know? So when you wake up the next morning, how would you know? How would you feel? What things would be happening? What would look differently? What would feel differently? So it's really important to connect to that vision. And the reason why is because that vision determines how you will set your true priorities. And this is the big nugget here. Once your priorities become crystal clear, your decisions on where you're going to spend your time, energy, focus, and even money become easy. Once that becomes easy, the rest of it is not a problem. However, why haven't you achieved living in that state consistently for many of the folks that I speak to? What has prevented you? And those are roadblocks, right? A lot of what I hear from clients and when I lead my seminars is that there's not enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough energy at the end of giving it to everybody else to focus on what I want to do, and I don't have resources, all right? So I say to that, I hate to say BS, but I will say BS. I'm going to call it out. I used to say these same things to myself. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the money, right? But these are limiting beliefs that keep us stuck where we are. Because if we don't believe that anything is possible, then why even try? And that gives us that perfect cop-out to not even go for it. But then the reward we get is to stay, just that little bit of unfulfilled or not fully fulfilled or doing things that are meaningful to us. So all those limiting beliefs keep us from our best success. And when I'm working with folks and in my more in-depth seminar that I do, we have a 4-step process for knocking out those limiting beliefs and getting people into a resourceful, creative state that can help you overcome the rest of those roadblocks. So it's no longer an issue. So on to our step 2, purpose-powered success. And what do I mean by that, right? Our brains are pattern-seeking. So we have to interrupt any of our old negative go-to brain patterns that keep us stuck in either fear, stress, or inaction. So if your brain is already going to that sense of lack, I don't have money, I don't have time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the help, etc., you're constantly going there, that's your first go-to, your brain has already worn that path. So that will happen automatically without you even having to think about it consciously. So what we need to do is consciously change up that pattern, mix up, interrupt that old negative pattern, and install a new one that is going to reprogram our brain to expect and also to manifest success. And I know a lot of folks, when we use the word manifest through our brains, again, it can be a turnoff to some folks because it sounds kind of woo-woo, this we're just going to zen and stuff is going to come to us. There's science behind that, my friends, and the thing is, your brain does not know the difference between real reality, what we would consider real reality, and what you tell it. And you know that if you've ever jumped to an incorrect conclusion. In your mind, you know for sure that this is what the person's thinking or what happened, what went down, and then you find out later you were completely incorrect. But in your mind, that was your truth and that was your reality. So we want to knock that out. We want to program only things that are going to take us to that success. And so I have an action step for you. One of the things we need to do is acknowledge our successes and strengths. It's something that a lot of us have not been raised with. I don't know about you. I didn't grow up hearing how great I was or how wonderful I did anything. I got a little bit of that from my teachers at school, which is why I turned into the geek that I am today, because I got a lot of positive reinforcement there. I didn't get it at home. If you did, hey, kudos to you. And then as we grow up and become adults, we don't generally get that a lot from coworkers, supervisors. It kind of has to come from within. So here's your action step. Sometime today, before you go to bed maybe, that's a great way to have nice dreams, is to take some time and list 100 accomplishments that you've had over your life. And when I say list, don't sit there and overthink it. Put pen to paper or pencil to paper and just keep going, keep writing. It can be everything from you graduated kindergarten, didn't you? That's an accomplishment, right? You made it through middle school. You made it through wearing braces or the geeky glasses or whatever. Graduating high school, getting a degree, getting a certification, getting your first car, your apartment, your house, having kids and being a great mom or a dad, or having a nice marriage, or even getting out of a miserable marriage. That's something that's an accomplishment, right? And so each day after tonight when you do that, because I'm going to check up on you, I want you to add 5 more things to that list. And what happens is eventually we're building that muscle of, first of all, knowing that we are successful because we've done that. We've had hundreds of successes in our lives that we haven't given ourselves credit for. And then also, whenever that fear takes hold, when you want to do something else that's new and scary, you go back to that huge list and you reconnect really with the feeling. How great did that feel to get your first car? Oh my gosh, getting my driver's license for me was like freedom. I was crazy for that. So that to me is one of the exhilarating moments I go back to when fear strikes me and I'm like, hey, I drove a car for the first time, a stick shift too. I don't know about if anybody still drives those, but yeah, that's an accomplishment. I walked on fire with Tony Robbins. Hey, how about that? If you can walk on fire, you can do anything, right? So revisiting all of those successes. And now we have to get, once you're strong in reprogramming that way to expect success, we get a clear picture of what it is you want to accomplish. Why is that important? I said, I'll keep saying it, the brain is pattern seeking, so it repeats and creates what we've practiced over and over again. So we want to reprogram and prime our brain to be ready for and to expect success, right? The brain doesn't distinguish, as I said, between reality and what we program it to believe. And I have the basketball picture here because in psychology, this experiment has been done over and over again, where they take a basketball team, and they want to improve their free throw shots. So how would you do that? Most people say, well, you practice more, you practice longer, more intensely, et cetera, and certainly that will get you some results. So what they tested out was they took 3 groups. So one group they took and they just practiced with a coach, and the coach was fine-tuning the things they were doing. The other group, they had to just sit and visualize. This is that power of visualization. So they visualized in great detail, like we said. They saw what they would see, felt what they would feel, heard what they would hear. So if you've ever been on a basketball court, feeling the feel of that basketball hitting your hand, and as you're bouncing it, that sound that echoes through the gym, the smell even of what the gym floor smells like, right? Seeing yourself sizing up the shot, remembering to put your elbow in, and letting go, the feel of that ball leaving your fingertips and seeing it go to the net, right? And then it makes that swoosh, and then again that hollow sound when it hits the ground. So getting more and more connected and associated with that vision. And then the third group, they had do some practice and then also do the visualization. So which group do you think had the highest improvement in free throw shots? Usually people think the one where they did both. And I'm here to tell you, actually, it's the one where they visualized only. And that's surprising to a lot of people. But why would that be? I wish we had people just answering here. We had a big group. But I'll give you the answer. The reason is because perfect practice. People always say practice makes perfect. Well, somewhat, but perfect practice makes perfect. So when you're visualizing, you're seeing that group that was visualizing getting the ball, they were making the shot every single time. And so they had programmed their brain to expect and to create that success on a more consistent basis. So it works. And if we were live, I would lead you through a cool little demonstration that will blow your mind because you'll see how easy it is. We do like just a little 5-minute practice. And you improve something that's relatively meaningless. But if it works with something like that, how could it work in your life, in your business? Many of you I know are in sales. You got to do sales to increase your business, right? So if you just did some meaningful and purposeful, intentional visualization each day, just for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it takes nothing. And you might say, you don't have the time. Look, I see you posting on Facebook. You got the time to do the visualization, all right? You're on Twitter. You're on LinkedIn. You are cyber stalking people, right? So I know you got that time, all right? So if I didn't hit it home enough, that perfect practice makes perfect, so you want to practice it daily in your mind and in full detail. The more detail you can add, the better. And I've got a funny slide, and that's me actually, my poor Photoshop skills with the fabulous Dwayne Johnson. So I said, just like I described with the basketball example, you want to see what you would see. I'd be hanging out at all the fancy parties with Dwayne, right, my man. I'd be wearing the latest stylish clothes. I'd be smiling. He's smiling at me because he thinks I look good. Wait till you see the rest of me. So you might say, that's not reality-based, but hey, I'm visualizing. What are you doing? What's happening around you? You know, really taking note of being fully, like you're in the movie, right? And then you're going to hear what you would hear, right? What would you be saying to yourself? What would you be saying to someone else? You know, are people coming up to you asking you to sell their house or to sell them a car or to take care of their estate, etc., whatever business that you're in? What other sounds would you hear around you, right? So really making it a real experience. And then also feeling inside yourself. And that's why when I say we go back and we practice and review your successes, because we want to create that. Once you have that inside you, you actually create it in the reality around you. So we want to know, what emotions would you feel on a regular basis? Very few of us choose to be stressed, right? You'd probably want to be calm, confident, creative, etc., right? How would your body feel? Would you feel energized and motivated to exercise, right? Have the energy and the physical vibrancy to get you through a day and to do the things you want to do for yourself. And what physical sensations would you feel, right? So remember back in the old days, most of us, before there were smartphones, I don't know. We didn't have smartphones when I was a kid. But we used to daydream. And so if you can take yourself back, kids are like the most amazing at creating imagination and daydreams. So we have to practice until it becomes effortless to imagine that every single detail, right? So we're building that muscle again. We're building the muscle so we can create our new go-to state of certainty, calm, and also success. Again, it's not woo-woo stuff. It's backed up by science, and there's research to prove it. One of my favorite quotes, and many people are familiar with Jim Carrey and how he became famous. When he was a broke, struggling comedian, he wrote a $20 million check to himself, and he put it up on his bathroom mirror. And so every day he would see that check, and he would practice, as he's known for making his goofy faces and whatever, he would practice his faces in the mirror, and he would have that check right there. And his goal was to get paid $20 million. And he did years later for, I believe it was his Ace Ventura movie. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But one of his movies, he got paid exactly $20 million, just like he had on the check. And it happened a while later. But again, it's not woo-woo stuff. And this is what I love, his quote. He says he would visualize things coming to him, and it would just make him feel better. Visualization works if you work hard. Right? So that's the thing. You can't just visualize and then go eat a sandwich, right? I love that. So we're going to get to the action part. However, I have to emphasize it's those first two steps, that visualizing and creating your mind. That's what creates that effortless connection to our purpose. That and the vision are the most crucial steps. Why? Because they drive the rest of the process and make it easy. They make that hard work turn easy, right? So then working smarter becomes easy. You're stressing less because you're taking clear, purposeful, and intentional and strategic action to achieve those most meaningful goals. So with that, well, what actions, right? Here's where that purpose-powered action plan becomes easy to create. We need to focus, though, on what are the specific actions that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. What's going to give you the biggest return on the investment of your time, energy, focus, and even money, right? How do we determine that? You have some questions there. I'm not going to read them to you. But we have to look at how we close the gap. We're looking at the big picture of what we really, really want, and then we're going to reverse engineer the actions that you have to take. Because sometimes when we set those big, bold, bodacious, crazy goals that excite us, it can also seem overwhelming and scary. And so that's where we do that reverse engineering. We chunk down the steps. Okay, what do I need to do? What are the areas that I need to take action in to make this happen? And then we chunk down even more and more specific. So we get smaller and smaller, very specific action steps. Once we get to that point, it's totally doable. And it also becomes easy because we do the one first easy step. That takes us and makes us ready for the next easy step and the next, and the one builds on the other and the other and the next. And before you know it, you've created momentum towards achieving that goal, which is freaking awesome. And that's where we get to this purpose-powered achievement, right? So once you've got your purpose-powered vision in place, you've primed yourself and your brain for success, and now you've laid out your plan, then you're ready to seriously make it happen. And that comes with taking massive action now. That's the thing. You got to strike while the iron's hot, right? That's what they say. So right now, while we're talking about it, even without your huge vision, maybe you've been thinking about it as we're talking or you're listening to this, write down 1 to 3 things you're going to do as soon as this webinar comes to a close, that you're going to do immediately. Now, this isn't build a website. Okay, maybe if it's build a website, what's the first thing you need to do? Maybe you need to do a Facebook post that says, hey, who knows of a good web designer, right? Or you check your Metro Chamber of Commerce listings for who's the web designer that I have access to through the chamber, right? Do you need to call somebody? You need to make an appointment. You need to do a Google search for something easy that's going to get you started on that first step. And I guarantee you that first step leads to the next, to the next, to the next. So that's your action step. You've got two. Remember, the one is tonight before you go to bed, you're going to do those 100 acknowledgments of your successes and achievements. And as soon as you hang up from this, you better be on the phone, on whatever, researching, doing that next step that you need. So every day, you're going to ask yourself, what is the one thing you can accomplish today or this week that's going to make that biggest impact in getting closer to your outcome, whatever that is. That, my friends, if you're doing it daily, is going to build the mental muscle. So the mental muscle that's going to be that go-to brain function now, that's going to focus on that one thing that's going to get you the biggest result. I've heard people refer to it as what's the key lever or lever. So if you know what a lever is or a lever is, it's a tool that helps you, like you can lift a couple of thousand pounds, right? If you've ever had a flat tire that you've had to change, you can't lift your car. I don't think you can. I don't know. I can't lift my car. But with the help of that jack serves as a lever or lever that helps you to raise the car up, which weighs like 4,000 pounds. So it's the same thing with the actions that we choose to take. So you choose the actions and determine what is going to be the one thing I can do that's going to affect the other areas and other things I need to get done. So once we do that, our job isn't over. We have to consistently and continually evaluate what we're doing, right? Tweak our strategy and keep going, keep trying again. So as you're taking action, you're evaluating daily, you're tweaking the process, you're asking yourself questions like, is this working? Is this working well? Could I make it work better? Is there a better way to do this? Is there somebody I can call on to help me? Is there a system that's going to make it easier? And a lot of times we try things, we give it one or two shots, and if it's not working the way we think it should, we give up. So you're not going to do that. When we say, how often do you keep trying? You're going to keep trying. You're going to keep tweaking the process until your outcome is achieved. You're going to keep asking yourself, what's another resource that I can use? Is there someone I can talk to? Is there something I can look up? What are some other resources, right? So you don't need the resources. You just need to get resourceful, right, on how you're going to achieve it. Woo! I feel like I've been talking a mile a minute here. So we're going to review the milestones. Remember, getting that vision and the success mindset are the crucial foundations for the rest of the process to work with ease, right? So once the purpose-powered vision is clear and you're clearly focused on that purpose-powered success and reminding yourself of those successes, the action plan and the achievement is easier. And it happens with minimal effort on your part because, like we said before, when your priorities are crystal clear, your decisions become easy. And for how long are you doing this process? Until you achieve your desired outcome. So remember when I said when your priorities are clear, your decisions become easy, right? That's because you no longer allow yourself to be distracted by anything that's not in alignment with your overall purpose. That's why setting that clear purpose and vision is the most important and crucial thing you can do, because otherwise we get distracted by other things. I know you all are familiar probably with good old Steve Jobs, and he was asked one time by a journalist, what's your secret to success? How do you become successful, Steve Jobs? And his response was, say no to 1,000 things, right? And what he's referring to is say no to anything that distracts you from your purpose, right? And I want you to be successful, so I'm going to give you a challenge to say no for 7 days. And there's a link there that if you follow that and sign up, you're going to get every day a different video. It's a fun, quick, like I think it's 5 minutes or less each video, that gives you something new to say no to. And there's also an instructional welcome video that's about 8 minutes long that gives you ways to say no that's going to be fun and silly and get you in the mood for that. Why is it important to say no, and what are you going to get at the end of 7 days of saying no? You're going to get freedom, freedom of time, freedom of guilt, of, oh gosh, you said no, you said yes to something, but you got no business doing that, and now you're feeling guilty, you're feeling resentful, whatever, for spending your time doing this thing you got that's taking you away from what's most important to you, right? So what that gives you, I think, at the end of the 7 days is a sense of freedom, both emotionally and freedom of time. And we're coming to the close of our time here, and so I blocked some time to take on 5 private consultations for any Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce member. If you just email me at my email there, it's mm and my last name, Marinakis @gmail.com. I'll take the first 5 people. Maybe you have some specific questions, or there's something specific that you've been trying to achieve that for some reason that's not happening. Let's do a little breakthrough session and figure out what's going on, what's the limiting belief around that, and let's knock it out in a session. All right? And with that, we'll open it up for questions. I feel like I've been talking like constantly.
And again, if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to do so on the chat box in the bottom left corner of your screen, or you can unmute your phone by pressing *7 on your line. And I know your email was on the last slide as well, so if you want to reach out to Maria, feel free to contact her directly as well. Thank you so much for doing this today. I know that you went over a lot today. Are there specific topics that you also cover when you do breakout sessions for?
Yeah, I work with quite a few corporate entities. We do something that's really popular is our team building, because we do some really fun experiential things. It's fun to get folks like supervisors, higher managers and leaders of the company, along with frontline folks in a room together. So we do some really cool stuff that helps break down those barriers and helps leaders to understand some of the concerns of frontline folks and vice versa. So team building is a lot of what I do, leadership series, and certainly productivity. Yeah, those are the main topics.
Well, if there are no questions, I want to thank you so much, Maria, for joining us. I want to thank all of our chamber members for joining us today on the call as well. We do Chamber U every single Friday at 10 a.m., except for next week. We will not be doing it next week. So we'll see you all in 2 weeks, and thank you again so much for joining us.